This is SportsRage. I'm Morency. Let's do this thing. Level 2 has begun. Shout out to Drew Martin for joining us. We're just talking about baseball, and I brought up, Trevor Bauer's on this Japanese team, and it's a Japanese team it's like to showcase players so they can get signed type of deal. And we were talking about, I said, like, Mookie Betts said that he wouldn't have a problem with Trevor Bauer was on the Dodgers. But the thing with Trevor Bauer is nobody likes him. That's the big problem, right? So that's why people were surprised about Mookie Betts, right? It's not so much, I don't think teams, put it this way, we've seen pro sports teams, they're not concerned about any PR backlash about signing any players. The fact is, Trevor Bauer, right, he's been traded, or kind of like no one ever liked him on any team he's ever on. Remember when he was on Cleveland, he threw the ball, he nearly hit his own teammate and stuff. He nearly got beat up in the clubhouse by his own guys. It's sort of like Yasiel Puig, right? I like Yasiel Puig. But it's like, how come Yasiel Puig's not playing in the majors, right? I mean, he was talented enough, right? Well, you'd find out after these stories about how just despised he is by everybody. So people don't want him around. And the thing with Bauer is, too, is that's the problem. If you want to be a jerk, all the time, don't be surprised if people don't have your back after, right? If you're a nice guy and you're innocently accused of something, people are going to feel bad for you after. But Trevor Bauer is just a jerk all the time. And, it's more, I want to get into it more. It's more than why he's not signed. Like I said, like, he ratted out pitchers. He was the one that talked about how, like, pitchers were cheating with the sticky stuff, and he showed everyone how to do it on a video. It's like, bro, like, it was basically, he was looked at like a magician that showed, like, the trick. So his own peers, like, pitchers don't like him, players don't like him, teammates generally don't like him. Organizations don't like him because he that's another thing. He wanted in his contract that he's allowed to film everything all the time. Teams don't like that stuff, right? He's more of a distraction than his cause, basically, right? And the last thing, shout out to everybody joining us on Sirius. You can't really sue because the Dodgers paid him. The Dodgers were smart, right? The Dodgers have good lawyers, so the Dodgers knew. They're like, listen, he's going to sue us. We can't just, like, kick him off the team because we don't like him. Like, you know what I mean? But we can, but we have to pay him, right? That's the whole thing. Baseball, your contract is guaranteed. So you see what I'm saying? You can't really sue a workplace employer and say, well, they screwed me. It's like, well, how'd they screw you? Well, they paid you, right? So, like, the Dodgers paid him like $150 million not to pitch. But from what, the reports out of LA are they're not too impressed that somehow they're facing him now, like in Japan. But there was a story that they weren't happy, but they're not backing out of the game or anything like that. So I don't think Trevor Bauer will pitch in Major League Baseball. Like, if he would have been back by now, he would have been back. And like I said, the problem is he brings it upon himself. Right? Like, look, remember last year or a year and a half ago, whatever, in their season in the Japanese league, he was in the Japanese league, and he got into it with his own teammates in the Japanese league, which is hard to do, right? Because Japanese players are pretty, everyone's pretty chill and respectful of the game and all that, but he wasn't. He started showboating and he started doing stuff, and his manager told him to chill out, and he got into it, and so there's the long story short there. If you're going to be a jerk, people are not going to have your back when stuff happens, right? Because they're going to be like, yeah, whatever, dude. You didn't do that, but you've done this, and that, and this, and the other thing, and we don't like you, right? And that's always the thing. It's not like you can have talent, right? Like, it's sort of like Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick could play in the NFL. He could have played, yet it's not his right to play in the NFL. Right? It's sort of that, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's your right to say whatever you want, freedom of speech, but it's also our right not to have you on the team if we don't want. So that's sort of the realm that Bauer is in. But it is true that he didn't assault anybody or anything like that. Right. That part is true. So shout out to Drew Martin for joining us. We got Craig Trapp going to step up and in. We'll get his thoughts on some college basketball, NBA as well. I brought up earlier, March Madness, great place in Vegas to watch these games. It's fun. It's all packed everywhere. But Vegas is a new realm right now in which they've upscaled everything. Right? Sort of like Moe's, like Mo Sislak's. Like they've upscaled Moe's. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything costs money. Nothing is cheap. There's not like free drink tickets. You know, they put it's one of those deals now in Vegas where if you have to ask how much it is, they don't want you there. So I'm looking at some of the places here, and this is where to watch in Las Vegas. Circa is going to be off the hook, and Circa is free to get into. They have sort of premium seating and stuff that you could pay for, but they've got their roof and their pool patio party that's going to be rocking. So Circa will no doubt be a place to be. I see here, like this one, like the Stratosphere, $199 to watch the March Madness at the Strat per day. It's in a Strat theater, and you get drinks and food included, but $200. The Mirage, $175 to $350. Blondie's Sports Bar, where we used to do our show in Planet Hollywood, $150 drink minimum. So it's not an admission, but it's $150 drink minimum for Thursday and Friday. Cosmopolitan's not saying how much it is, so you know they're one of those people like the Cosmos. Like, yeah, like, if you have to ask, you know, I'm assuming the Cosmopolitan's probably like $500 or something. The Hard Rock Casino, $750. Yet it does give you a open bar and a buffet that changes throughout the day. The buffet food changes. $750. Caesars isn't saying how much it is. It looks like Mandalay Bay is free. Mandalay Bay Sportsbook is nice, too. And then, of course, if you're looking for something edgier, Larry Flint's Hustler Club has a March Madness party, as does Club Sapphire. Listen, I've lived in Vegas. For me, Mandalay Bay would be a cool place to watch. They have a big sportsbook. It's open. It's very open air and stuff. Like even though it'll be crowded, it won't be like annoying. Circa, the pool will be off the hook. This is SportsRage.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out
that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. Level 2 continues. I am Gabriel Morency. The second period has begun in Las Vegas. The Vancouver Canucks have a 2-0 lead over the Vegas Golden Knights, in which this would be a big statement win, statement week for the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks, of course, had the best record in the National Hockey League, or at least right up there, with Boston and, battling with Florida, etc. But they've struggled post All-Star break a bit. As the games have become more playoff-like, the Canucks have struggled a little bit. But they're starting to adapt right now. It's an adjustment period, and that's what the regular season is for, to get ready for the playoffs. And Rick Tocchet, the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, is very direct, very honest, and is doing an awesome job. He really is. He's done an awesome job. It was a great hire. Things have really worked out. But, the Canucks were winning games earlier in the year, and there'd be times that Rick Tocchet would be upset after the game, or he wouldn't really, he'd be like, yeah, we won, but we've got a lot of bad habits, right, and stuff like that. But he's been so happy this week. They've won 2 games back-to-back, 2-1, right? And I'm telling you, coaches love that stuff. So he's like, oh, I love the resolve of our team. It's been a great week, 2-1 wins, and it's what the playoffs are like. So they beat the Ducks 2-1. They beat the Kings 2-1. Now they're playing a Vegas Golden Knight team who, of course, just, loaded up again. I heard Ray Ferraro today say that Vegas, they're up to $95 million. They're going to be up to $95 million. Like, Vegas manipulate the cap like nobody else does in the National Hockey League. And you remember last night, Babano talked about it. And he said, Colorado, they're going to be fired up because they know they acquired guys. And I said, nah, like, if you're Colorado, whatever, you've already won the cup and stuff, right? You expect to acquire guys. And what did I say? I said, I actually like to bet against teams that trade. Like, I don't look at it like that. Like, basically, when teams make these trades, like Babano said, and I'm not calling him out for it. I said, I get your point, like, on a bad team, right? Like, if you're an up-and-coming team, and, you acquire people, there's a buzz in the city around the team and stuff like that. I get it, right? Everybody's fired up. But if you're a championship caliber team and you're acquiring people, it's, but what it also does is it changes the room up, right? You're either trading people away that, so guys in the room are losing friends, and or also guys know, oh, man, they just traded for a bunch of dudes that are kind of like coming in here and they're going to play instead of me now. So there's a little bit of an adjustment period. Vegas just scored to make it 2-1. We got a game. The dreaded 2-0 lead, man. I swear to you, I don't know what the hell it is about a 2-0 lead in hockey. Like, unless you get it to 3, it doesn't help. It doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't. It's like you can be up 2-0. It's like, all right, so what? You know what I mean? Like, now it's 2-1 suddenly. It might as well be 1-0. It's like, yeah, you scored twice. Good for you. You dominated the first period. Good for you. It's like, now you're only up by 1 goal. The Canucks need to get the next goal now. We talk about it time and time again for in-game betting purposes, how these teams, man, when they're down by 2, man, I don't know what it is. Like I said, like in other sports, like soccer teams don't automatically, you know, when a soccer team is up 2-0, like it's not like, oh, yeah, they're going to blow this for sure. It's like, no, they're going to win a game, right? If a football team's up 14-0, you're not automatically thinking, like there's no saying about football, oh, man, the dreaded 2-touchdown lead, unless you're Kyle Shanahan, but that's another story. I don't know what it is with hockey. I really don't. I don't get it. And I played hockey. I don't understand the 2-0 lead thing, like backfiring all the time. Time and time again. It's like nearly 30% of the time, man. Like seriously, like nearly 30% of teams that win NHL games are actually trailing by 2 or more goals in a game. It's absolute insanity when you from a betting perspective, like the value. All right, let's check in the game of the night tonight in the association, a potential NBA Finals preview. The Boston Celtics ended up closing as 2-point favorites in this game. The Denver Nuggets are winning at the half right now, 62-54. Nuggets are up by 8 at the break. We're on the Nuggets, and what's the total? I've got over 221. So the in-game total right now for this game is 222.5, and I don't know, like, man, you know, I'm like a drunk at last call here when it comes to these in-game overs, but doesn't it feel like I bet the over this game, but it feels like it's on pace, doesn't it? I mean, Denver put up 62 in the first here, Boston 54. Boston aren't going anywhere. You know, Boston are going to go on a run here. So if you didn't get in on this game already, like I said, I've already got over 221 here, but I think the game does go over 222.5. I think there'll be more points put up in this game. It should be a fun second half. We'll start to focus in on it a little bit as the second half starts. We've got a great game going on right now in Vegas. Sort of the calm before the storm right now, though, huh? It's like, yeah, the NBA playoffs are sort of around the corner. And the NHL season still has quite a bit left, though. But we got, like I said, we got March Madness coming up. March Madness is now 2 weeks away officially, and baseball is 2 weeks away, too. The Dodgers open up on, like, the Wednesday night. So it's like the Wednesday night and Thursday night. Early morning on the East Coast, overnight on the West Coast. So March Madness and Major League Baseball officially 2 weeks away right now. Right? See, you know what I mean when I say it's sort of the calm before the storm? But like the NBA, you can tell, like they're jockeying for position and stuff, but the NBA players are getting a little bit sort of worn out and just looking to the playoffs. The NHL, these teams are just beating the crap out of each other for playoff positioning, and there's a lot of teams that are battling still right now in the NHL. Trying to get home ice, trying to get like the higher seed to avoid other teams. So the NHL is, you know, the NHL brings it every night, but I find this time of the year just sort of like, come on, let's get to the real stuff. So speaking of the real stuff, on the other side, we'll get into it a little bit more, but Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua are boxing tomorrow in Saudi Arabia. Everything's in Saudi Arabia now, right? So they're in Saudi Arabia. Remember, Ngannou really surprised everybody when he beat Tyson Fury. Like he beat him. We can pretend he didn't and stuff like that, but they weren't going to let Ngannou come in and win his first boxing match. But he really surprised Tyson Fury, and now he's got Anthony Joshua. Except Anthony Joshua now knows how dangerous Ngannou actually can be. This fight is scheduled for 6:15 Eastern time tomorrow. So 3:15 Pacific, yet obviously it's the fight game, so this is a loose guideline. and I'm expecting the pre-fight introductions to take like an hour. but just for the record, this fight's a little earlier tomorrow. It's in the Middle East. So Friday, 6:15 Eastern, 3:15 Pacific is the tentative start time. Anthony Joshua is a minus 300 favorite. Ngannou is plus 240. I'll give you my best bets, and we'll get into this on the other side. We're coming up against the break here, but even though Ngannou has like the hardest punch ever on record, it's a little bit different when you're wearing these boxing gloves. And Anthony Joshua is a big-ass dude, a super athletic dude that I don't think Ngannou is going to drop. He caught Fury. Fury didn't take it seriously. Fury wasn't in good shape. And Fury's trainer was talking about, like, breaking down this fight. I'll get into it. And his prediction is interesting and is dynamic because he's Tyson Fury's trainer. And he basically admitted that Tyson Fury really didn't take it that seriously, and he didn't sleep much in the 3 days leading up to the fight. And that Ngannou surprised everybody with how good he was. So point is, Anthony Joshua's not going to be surprised. This is SportsRage.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage Level 2 continues. Second period continues as well. It's 2-1 for the Vancouver Canucks. It's a rare occasion. The Canucks are out actually, they're out shooting their opponent tonight, 22-11. So this is one of these instances where if you're Vancouver, you've done everything well, right? You've held your opponent, who's a very good team in Vegas, to only 11 shots on goal in their own building with 11 minutes left in the second period. You scored the first 2 goals of the game. You're out shooting them 22-11, but here you are. You're only up 2-1, and it looks like you're going to the penalty box right now. Are they going to the penalty box? I don't really see why, if they are, but okay. I'll let you know about this in a second. All right, we're going to have Big Card Julio. I don't know if Craig Trapp's going to join us. We might have a problem with Craig. If not, it's all good. Julio's going to be with us in a couple of minutes. But I was talking about Tyson Fury and Ngannou, so this goes down tomorrow. I think that Anthony Joshua is going to be ready for Ngannou, right? And I don't think Ngannou's going to be able to knock him out, and I don't think he's going to knock out Ngannou either. So Spencer Brown, Tyson Fury's manager, Spencer Brown, revealed why the Gypsy King struggled against Ngannou in November. He talked about the travel. They got there late. He didn't sleep, blah, 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 all that stuff. He never slept for 3 days on the spin. That was the reason for the bad performance. You can take it how you want, but I was there and I saw it. He couldn't sleep. Talking about now how he's going through his camp and all this. But he's going off about, I think Anthony Joshua will win on points. That's my prediction, says Tyson Fury's manager. He'll have a couple of scary moments. Ngannou hits really hard, but what do we know a lot more about Ngannou? Yes, we do. But he doesn't fall for feints, but Anthony doesn't feint either, does he? I like how the British talk. He's a straightforward, come-forward fighter. He wants to knock you out, I'll tell you that. He is a monster, speaking of Anthony Joshua. So you have 2 seriously lethal, big-ass dudes here. So the inclination is people are going to think, wow, you got to bet the under. There's going to be a quick knockout. I'm betting the over. And I bet the over of the Tyson Fury fight when Ngannou as well. Because there's usually a feeling out process in these fights. But the thing is, this isn't like a joke fight. Like Ngannou has accelerated himself in the boxing world where like you have to take him seriously. We saw how good he looked against Fury. Another thing is, too, he has good cardio, Ngannou, which surprised people. Right? It surprised me even. I mean, the guy never fought more than a couple of rounds. He fought 5 rounds once or something. You know what I'm saying? In MMA. But he's got good cardio. We should note that he trained with Mike Tyson last time for the fight. He did not train with Tyson this time for the fight against Anthony Joshua. The over-under is 6.5, minus 138 to the over 6.5, plus 100 to the under 6.5. So as I stated, like you're getting value on the unders here. And, you know, with the plus monies, but I think this fight probably goes the distance. I agree with Tyson Fury's manager here. And, you know, so you get attracted by that plus money. They're trying to bait you in, under 4.5 rounds plus 240. I'm looking at the over 6.5 rounds at minus 138. And then I think we could sprinkle on the 7.5 at plus 100, the 8.5 at plus 137. Will the fight go the distance is plus 225. And remember, it did go the distance against Tyson Fury. Fight not to go the distance is minus 300. I think the plus 225 is worth a sprinkle. Like I said, I'll be surprised if somebody gets stretched and knocked out here. Knocked down, yes, but knocked out, different. You know what I'm saying? Look, Tyson Fury got knocked down. Didn't he get knocked down a couple of times? So that's the thing. Like, Ngannou's got lethal power. He put Fury on his ass a couple of times, but he didn't knock him out. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. There's props to be knocked down and win. Anthony Joshua to be knocked down and still win the fight, plus 800. Ngannou to be knocked down and win, plus 1,400. To score a knockdown. It's an interesting prop, actually. To score a knockdown. Will Anthony Joshua put Ngannou down? Minus 225, yes. Plus 162, no. Ngannou's got a freaking chin, man. Like, right? That's what, like, freaked Tyson Fury out. Fury, like, nailed him a couple of times. He landed some clean shots, man, on Ngannou early in that fight. And Ngannou just sort of shook it off like it was nothing. And I think it always freaks out a fighter, right, that's used to knocking people out and messing people up when their opponent doesn't really get phased. I think I'm going to take a shot with this. Will Anthony Joshua score a knockdown? No. Plus 162. I'm getting plus money. And this one is definitely worth a look here. Ngannou to score a knockdown. Like I said, he doesn't have to win the fight. That's what I like about this prop. He doesn't have to win the fight. All he's got to do is land one shot hard enough to put Joshua on his ass for a couple of seconds. And he did against Tyson Fury. I don't see why there's a reason why he won't land one shot. As we just read you the quote of Fury's manager about how he expects Joshua to win the fight, but to have a couple of scary moments in the fight. Ngannou is that good. So I think I'm looking for plus money opportunities here. I don't think Ngannou is actually going to win the fight, right? I think Joshua is going to be ready for him. Joshua is much more athletic than Fury is. It's one of these weird deals where, like Fury might have beaten Joshua, but Joshua's a tougher matchup for Ngannou than Fury was. I think this is harder for him. Joshua is much more active. You know what I mean? Like Fury's like a really big hittable dude. You know what I'm saying? That, he doesn't mind getting hit. It usually just, everyone's smaller than him. This is going to be more of a challenge for Ngannou, I think, just because of Joshua's athleticism. But at plus 200 for him to score a knockdown, that's something that I've got to take a look at plus money. And for Joshua not to score a knockdown, plus 162. So I'm taking a crack here at 2 plus money bets. I only need to hit one of them. If I hit them both, hey, great. There's a million different props for this fight, but that's sort of the gist of it. But this is an interesting one. Total punches combined landed in the fight. So if you think the fight's going to go on, then you bet the over of these. 125 or more is minus 163. 150 or more punches landed is plus 110. The method of victory. Anthony Joshua, unanimous decision, plus 400. Ngannou to win unanimous decision is 20-1. Split decision, Joshua plus 1,400. Ngannou 40-1. To win by knockout, Anthony Joshua plus 137. Ngannou to win by knockout plus 600. Anthony Joshua to get disqualified 80-1. Ngannou gets disqualified 100-1. I should say the technical knockout is plus 137. Knockout is plus 333 and plus 900. Majority decision is 28-1. This is where the shady stuff happens in boxing, guys. Right? People always think like that boxing is rigged and stuff, and for the most part, it isn't. Right? I'm not saying no fights have never been, but for the most part, it really isn't. But it is and it isn't. Like the fighters aren't in on. It's not like Pulp Fiction where fighters are, I'm going to take a dive in the 6 or something like that. But the judges, man, nobody notices this stuff, and you can bet on it. Right? Like I remember Floyd Mayweather. I forget who it was. It might have. I don't know if it wasn't a Canelo fight. I don't know. It was Floyd Mayweather when Floyd was like in his prime, basically, and he was beating everybody all the time. It might have been De La Hoya. No, it wasn't a De La Hoya fight. Whatever. It'll come to me which fight it was. I think it might have been Canelo. No, I don't know which. Anyways, but there was a fight, and I bet it too. I had the unanimous decision, and it wasn't. They made it a split decision. And the thing is, nobody notices that. Nobody cares, right? Floyd won the fight. Nobody's going to bitch about, the decision and the scorecard after. And that's how you can, you know what I mean? If somebody gets to a judge, like, the judge is going to get caught and nailed or even if, let's say, the judge wants to make money on their own. they know. I can't just, you know what I mean? I can't just like have some crazy, stupid decision, right? I'm going to be under investigation. Like, you know what I'm saying? They investigate this stuff. So I'm going to be under investigation if I have some stupid, crazy decision. But whatever. No one's going to investigate anything if I make it 115, 114. And, you know, I know that I'm a little off, but I still award I'm still giving the win to the correct fighter. I'm just saying it was a lot closer than you guys saw it. Well, nobody notices this stuff after everyone's drunk and, hey, I won my bet. He won the fight. The parlay hit. Yeah, well, this is where there's people making money with this stuff. It's like soccer with the card betting, right? They know, man. The syndicates know. We can't have goalies letting in easy goals and stuff. We're going to get caught. But how about we get to a referee and tell him, listen, you don't have to throw the game, but we just need you to call a couple of early cards. And we're going to bet over 3.5 cards in the match. So we need you to just call it really tight. Call it, and the announcers will just say, oh, you're calling it by the book. And we win our bet. Nobody's the wiser.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Level 2 continues, as does the second period in Vegas. 2-1 for the Vancouver Canucks still. Remember, we pulled the trigger on the under 6.5, and we're on the Vancouver Canucks in this game. NBA basketball, we've got a good one going on in the Mile High City. 80-71 right now. Oh, Vancouver just scored. Connor Garland, boom, 3-1 Canucks. Big goal. They had a 2-0 lead, and then Vegas made it 2-1. We talked about it being critical that they score the next goal. Vancouver does. 3-1 Canucks, 4:02 left in the second period of play. As I was saying, the Nuggets are up 80-71 right now. Let's bring in a man in the Denver area, Big Card Julio in the house. Julio Rosario. What's up, Julio? How you doing tonight?
Doing well, Gabe. I'm still surprised that the Nuggets were home dogs coming into this game tonight. I couldn't believe it, had to smash it, and keeping my fingers crossed.
Lack of respect, like, to new levels. It really is just to new levels. Listen, Boston have been put on the pedestal for the last couple of seasons. You know who they're similar to? The Edmonton Oilers, in the sense that they're just favorites all the time. They're favorites to win the championship. It's like, you guys know they haven't won in like 20 years or whatnot, right? But okay, right. Keep making them favorite, right? And it's like rinse and repeat all the time. It's like, yeah, Boston are really good, but it's like there's like Boston are plus 250 to win the title, and Denver are plus 450. Like, really? Like, you know, you look at that odds. Yeah, so it's sort of like now, like the Edmonton Oilers are favored to win the cup. And okay, they're really good and they can be really great and stuff. They're also like 10 points behind the Vancouver Canucks, who are like 20-1. You know what I mean? Right. Like, you know, the odds, you know, it's just whacked, you know, when you look at this stuff. But I thought the same thing coming into tonight. We'll see if they can hang on. You know what the NBA is like, but this is probably a finals preview tonight.
It very well could be. I mean, if you want to look at the exactas to see what Denver-Boston matchup in the finals would be, that would be that'd be pretty enticing. I'm big on Denver. Mike Malone last week really praised, after the win against Sacramento, really praised how Denver were playing defensively after the All-Star break. I think they only gave up 5 3-pointers to Sacramento in that game last week. So, again, once you win in the NBA, and once you know what it takes, if the group stays together, you've seen it, Gabe, in the NBA for decades now, typically those teams, if they continue to stay together, will do well. So until they break up this current Nuggets nucleus, I mean, I have to take a stab at the Nuggets, especially at those odds right now. 420, it seems like a blessing in disguise here in Denver.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I think they did that deliberately to make it 420 because of Denver. Yeah, they must have, right?
Must have, yeah.
They must have. But
they know us well.
How long will these numbers be up? Right? We could actually argue its value. You're getting the Denver Nuggets right now at over plus 400, and most likely they're going to be in the finals. Then you could bet the other series, you could bet the games, you'd have a lot of angles coming in. You're getting the defending champions. You look now, Karl Anthony Towns is injured. He's a really good player, but I don't think it kills the T-Wolves. Like, we saw it to Anthony Edwards, just sort of says, all right, now I get more shots. It's even whatever. Like, so, yeah, like, he really is. That was unbelievable tonight. So, but at the same point in time, our Oklahoma City, they're really good, but they're young. I don't think they could beat Denver in a 7-game series. The Lakers wouldn't. The Warriors wouldn't. So I go down the list. So you get to the Clippers. I still think Denver are better than the Clippers. Even if the Clippers are healthy, it'd be a fun series, but I think they're and then conversely, I think Boston could choke along the way, Julio. Like, I trust Denver to get to the finals more than I trust Boston. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think Boston could lose to Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee could beat Boston.
Well, it's just late game situations where you expect the coach or an assistant to draw up good plays to either get to the free throw line or put up quality shots. And Boston just seems like in the final 5 or less minutes of the game, just sort of play hero ball and just let Jason Tatum or just let anyone sort of finish out the game. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be Denver. If I'm looking at the odds, maybe some value on Phoenix if they stay healthy late into the season. But I think, honestly, in the Eastern Conference, I would not be surprised if the New York Knicks make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I get sort of the Larry Brown Pistons feel with this New York Knicks team. They're not flashy. They're not beautiful on the eyes aesthetically in terms of the run and gun NBA basketball we're used to. But if you remember those Larry Brown Pistons that won back-to-back NBA titles, they just did it dirty. They were defensive. They just did everything that most teams wouldn't do. So I kind of get that vibe with the Knicks. The Knicks probably won't win a title, but I just get those workman-like feelings with the Knicks.
I could buy in. I would have if they didn't have all the injuries that they did. Right, like they were cruising after the trade with the Raptors, when they got Anunoby. They have Anunoby, and Randall was balling, and people were talking about Brunson being underrated for MVP and stuff. But they just have too many injuries, and I don't think they're going to be the same. I don't know even how healthy they're going to be. But like I said, I hate to be chalky, but just going over it. Like I said, Boston and Denver on a freaking collision course. To me, they're going to play. Like I said, I think Milwaukee could, but I think Boston will beat them. So for me, it's Denver and Boston. And put it this way, if they're playing in the finals, we ain't going to be getting plus 430 or plus 450, man. Right? And when they're going head to head. So, we almost have to take this now.
Yeah, especially now because everyone's focused on conference tournaments. Some of them, if Denver wins tonight, I could see plus 420 evaporate quicker than my joint after we get off the air tonight. But, if they win tonight, what's it moving to? 350? If it's between 350 or 360,
I'm seeing 350 right now in a book actually that's proactive.
Okay, makes sense. I still think there's value there.
Some of these books right now will adjust in games like this, so they're seeing right now this game. They're like, oh wow, so look, Denver beating Boston. We better lower this a little bit right now. Right, that's why there's always that value actually was there. It seems like a collision course, guys. Yeah, Boston, and Denver. So college basketball today. I don't know if you saw, Julio. I was tweeting it out. I don't know if you were watching the game, but I've never seen it like you were when you were doing Chicago State games. They weren't very good. So I don't know what the worst start of a game that you saw ever was, but today really was the most one-sided start to a college basketball game in D1 that I can never remember. And maybe I was more frustrated because I had the over the game and I knew I had a problem when one team couldn't score. But, guys, it was 33-2 at one point. It was 33-2. Pepperdine was leading Pacific today. And it was 36-5. It was 40-5 at one point. The first half ended up being what? It was 50-9.
What's the halftime talk like? 50-9. All right, guys. Hey, we're doing things terribly. What do you say at that point? You don't say anything.
I had the over of the game. I had the over.
Being with Chicago State for, I think, 5 seasons, they've never had that poor of a start. They've had plenty of poor starts, plenty of terrible games, but I've never seen a 50-9 score at the half before.
Okay, sorry, it was 56-9. Sorry, my bad. 50. It was hard to keep up 56. So it got as high as 37-2. So it was 30-7-2 at one point. And the best is I was watching it, and the Pacific coach pulled everybody off the floor. He pulled like all 5 starters. And he put in a bunch of white kids. White dudes came in at the end of the bench. They were almost surprised. They're like, They came in, and right away they started hitting threes. I was like, just leave these kids in. Right, they're hitting threes. Right, I was like, hey, good run, man. You guys, you made it 40-5. Good job. Right, so they made it 56-9 at the half. The total was 149.5, Julio, and it actually got to 145. Like, it tortured me enough that I had to watch it towards the end. I had to watch it.
I'm glad I didn't see the second half. I have to imagine it was just a foul fest, whistle upon whistle upon whistle, which is something to keep your eye on the rest of the conference tournament this week and going into next week, where if you have an under and you think it's rocking chair, just wait till the final 6 minutes of the game. Hell, wait till the final 2 minutes of the game, and there's going to be so many whistles where it's going to turn into a heartburn type of sweat.
Well, how about this? So they lost 102-43. They were outscored. So the first half was 56-9, but the second half, it was 46-34. So it's like, guys, if you just could have hit a couple of shots in the first half, right? I would have.
Two more.
They got to 145. I needed 150, right? And I'm not going to call it a bad beat. It was a bad bet, evidently, but it's pretty bad. Like when you bet, put it this way, Julio, you bet a college basketball total over 149.5, and you're told that one of the teams scored 102 points, you're thinking, how do you not win?
Oh, exactly, yeah. It's a slam dunk at that point.
That's what was bothering me. I'm like, man, Pepperdine has scored 56 points in the first. This is a dream. At Pacific, it just give me 20. You know what I mean? Give me, If they give me 15 points, I would have won the bet. If they would have scored 15 points in the first half instead of 9, I would have won. But hey, I didn't, and now we find out why Pacific were the worst team in the country against the spread this year. So they got absolutely lit up and murdered. A trendy pick tonight, and we talked about this with Drew Martin earlier, were the USC Trojans, Julio. They ended up closing as 9.5-point favorites, which they've been playing better as of late. They're 4-1 ATS in their last 5, but they're only 3-2 straight up. It seemed a little ambitious to lay 10 points with them tonight, and here we are. We got a close game. It's 27-26 for the Sun Devils right now.
Yeah, the Pac-12 is one of those conferences where you expect the unexpected, especially late in conference play. I feel one of my good friends is a UCLA fan, and he was just heartbroken to see an embarrassing loss at the hands of Arizona at Pauley Pavilion. I'm not betting that conference tournament, but you have to imagine that if Arizona doesn't run away with that conference tournament, that you'd have to question them in March going into the tournament.
I kind of do question them going in as it is. And I like this program, too. I like the coach. I like Floyd a lot. Lloyd, Tommy, I like coming from Gonzaga, Lloyd a lot. I like their players, but they don't play defense. They're kind of like the Pacers, to be honest. I watched the Pacers tonight. Arizona and the Pacers are kind of the same. They don't shoot the ball incredibly well, but they take a lot of shots, so they score a lot. Right? Like Arizona miss a lot of shots, but they come in with some vicious athletic put-back dunk, you know what I'm saying, after? Yep. They're good, though. I don't know, Julio. You did college basketball play-by-play. You watch this stuff. I've been watching college basketball since, the Ralph Sampson era. There's not that many good teams this year.
No.
I'm talking about, good teams, good teams. There's really not that many of them, so we can't dismiss Arizona making a run. Because, to me, you really only have UConn, Purdue, and Houston that are consistently good.
And they consistently play defense too, right? To win in March, you have to play defense. You need big stops. You can't just expect, as you mentioned, just keep chucking shots and expect them to fall. This time of year, it goes back to coaching, goes back to fundamentals. You do those well, you'll win.
92-83 Denver right now. 10.5 left in the game. Let's roll.
Let's go.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. It's just that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The Fan. Man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We're at a 3-minute warning of level 2. Big Card Julio in the house with us. And Julio's in Denver, but he's from the Chicago area. Chicago Bulls are winning right now, 100-93. They were getting 8.5 points tonight. I actually thought they were to play. I talked about it earlier. The Bulls have won 3 straight road games outright, actually. This would be a big win for them, nailing down another W. They're kind of stuck in this play-in situation right now, but I've caught on to this. The Bulls have been a play-on team for the last couple of weeks, Julio.
Yes, they have. I mean, Vucevic has played well. DeMar DeRozan last night was outstanding. I'm honestly surprised. It's a tough trip to go from Salt Lake into San Francisco on a back-to-back. So if they can win outright again tonight, as you said, Gabe, that the Bulls should be a play-on team moving forward, no matter what the number it seems.
The Denver Nuggets are now up 96-85 with a little under 10 left, and the San Antonio Spurs, playing without Wembanyama tonight, are leading the Sacramento Kings right now, 108-105. And, of course, last night, Sacramento were down early, big. They were down 19 to the Lakers last night, and they came all the way back and ended up smoking the Lakers. So we'll get Julio's picks. What do you got for us, Julio? We got the break coming up in a minute. We're just in a little in between, but we'll get your best bets on the other side. But what do you got for us? You got some soccer. Your boy Erling Haaland's been on fire. MLS is back. We got all kinds of basketball all day tomorrow. We got fighting in Saudi Arabia with Ngannou and Anthony Joshua tomorrow. Listen, is he going to win? He's in tough. But when you got the hardest punch ever recorded in mankind's history, he's worth a shot. He could clip Joshua. So we'll see what Julio has in store for us on the other side. We'll get Julio's best bets. We got Brent Beard stepping up and in. We'll talk some college football and football. We'll get you caught up to date with the NFL news of the day, including it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers are interested in Russell Wilson. And there's a lot of false and fake reports out there when it comes to the NFL, but this one seems to be from a pretty reliable source that the Steelers want to meet with Russell Wilson. This is SportsRage.